Hello, I'm Heather Hundhausen, and today we're going to be working on bucket number 5, which is setting boundaries for worthiness. So if you've been following along with me, we've been doing the work-life balance buckets. So number 1 was looking at what's going on in your body pain, what your body's trying to tell you about what you're thinking and feeling. Number 2, looking at your beliefs, how do you rewrite your beliefs? Number 3, self-love with reparenting yourself. Bucket number 4, self-care. And now we're on bucket number 5, which is about setting boundaries for worthiness. So do you experience people walking all over you? Have you ever experienced that? Do you ever feel like other people use you? Good morning. Do you ever find that you're really sensitive when somebody gives you feedback or constructive criticism? Right? Are you ever like, why are you criticizing me? Right? And kind of get defensive about it. Do you find yourself thinking, you know what, people are so disrespectful of me, or something like, people should be more respectful of me? So if these are some things that you're thinking regularly or even frequently or even every once in a while, this video is going to be really great for you because we're going to talk about boundaries and worthiness. So I'll give you a little backstory for me. About 10 years ago, my husband at the time decided that I wasn't the right woman for him. And I couldn't believe it. I thought I was perfect. I actually believed I was perfect. And I was thinking, how could he possibly not want me? I'm perfect. I mean, I was aware of the fact that he would change out like the bathroom tile every 6 months, or, you know what I mean? He'd like repaint the walls. Like he wasn't very satisfied with much of anything. But I thought, I mean, I was doing everything that I thought he needed. So why wasn't I the perfect wife? So that was a big wake-up call for me. Good morning. And so what I really was, and what I learned with 10 years of personal development and going to therapy and getting coaching and doing 12-step programs, was that I was full of resentment and control, and that I was trying to control everything else around me. Yet I was trying to be something for someone else. Do you ever experience yourself doing that? Do you ever experience yourself losing yourself to try to be somebody that somebody else wants you to be? When we do that, we give up our sense of self. And some of us didn't have a great foundational sense of self growing up. So there's actually, good morning, there's actually parenting ways that we can encourage our children to feel worthy. And so some of us didn't have parents who knew how to do that, and maybe we got sort of harshly punished or ignored, and so your sense of worthiness doesn't get developed. So when I was trying to control everything else and giving myself up, that obviously it doesn't work, and it's never going to work. And so when you try to be something for someone else, even if it's the person you love the most in the whole wide world, you're only going to really find happiness if you're you. Like, I'm never going to find happiness in my relationship if I'm trying to make my husband happy. Does that make sense? But here's the question, right? What if you don't even know you? Or what if you don't think that you deserve happiness or love? So I see that a lot in my coaching practice. So we experience people like taking advantage of us when we don't have a firm sense of self. So when really, truly deep down inside, we don't think that we're worthy of standing up for ourselves. We may feel unworthy, we may feel unlovable, and we may secretly think that no one will love us. That's a hard thing to come to terms with. That's a hard thing to realize, that the reason you're having so much trouble in your relationships is because you actually don't think you're worthy of love. God, that's a hard realization to come to. And here's a couple of clues for you to know whether or not maybe your own sense of unworthiness is getting in there, if you're feeling unlovable. So you would notice that you get really defensive really easily. Or you would notice that when somebody criticizes you, you take it really personally and you feel like very attacked. You would know your sense of like unworthy or worthiness isn't established if you don't actually know what you want, or if you don't feel like you have a really firm sense of identity. I have a couple of clients who they're like, I feel like my identity was stolen from me because the parenting was so harsh and structured and firm, and so much ridicule and humiliation and shame that you really lose your sense of self, and you don't even know that you have the ability to reclaim it. And when you spend 18 years of your life like that, and then maybe the next, couple years fumbling around, socially, that's a good 25 years of having no identity. It can cause, that's what I'm talking about. That's what it would be like if you didn't think that you were lovable. But that's a hard thing to come to terms with. Like, I was in denial, right? Like, I was like, man, I do everything for my husband. I'm the greatest. I'm the best wife ever. But I didn't realize that deep down underneath, the reason I was doing all of that for others was because I didn't feel like people would love me for me. So I felt like I had to do things for them. Is that making sense? Okay, so if we secretly think that nobody is going to love us, then we definitely don't want to get angry. Okay, so boundaries come from our anger or our sense of worthiness, our sense of power. And when we're one of these people-pleasing types of people, this sort of doormat type of person, everybody walks all over you, it's because you've suppressed your anger, and you probably have a belief that is like, I will never get angry because I don't ever get angry. You might even think I don't ever get angry, because if you did get angry, God forbid, people wouldn't like you, because you have a belief that, people who get angry are mean or something like that. And so you don't want to get angry, because if God forbid you get angry, because then you would be mean and you would lose friends, and then you would actually find out that people don't like you. And God forbid, we don't want that, especially when we have this unworthiness conversation going on inside of us. So when we don't have a firm sense of self, we actually can get chameleon-like. So you'll notice this of children raised in alcoholic or addict homes or dysfunctional homes where there's like abuse going on. The children turn into these chameleons, and they literally can, as an adult, you'll find yourself literally, it doesn't matter who you're with, you can conform to what kind of person is in front of you. And what I found is, I think it's kind of fun, a lot of like healers and energy workers are like that, because they've learned how to adjust to the energy that's in front of them. It actually makes them a really good healer, because they can adjust exactly to where you are. So it can be a pro also, instead of all a con. It's not all bad. But the problem with it is, when you lose your sense of self, you lose your sense of identity, and you don't know who you are, and you only know how to make other people happy. So when we're so attuned to others, but not attuned at all to ourselves, and then when we take time, spend time taking care of others, and we don't take care of ourselves, a lot of these types of people will end up feeling bitter or resentment, or lonely. A lot of these people feel really lonely because they feel like they don't know how to do relationship. And quite frankly, they feel like they're not taken care of, because they're taking care of everyone else and no one's taking care of them. And they think, well, if I take care of everyone else should take care of me, but that's not the way that it works. So Dagmar, you said, don't they say, if you feel your father doesn't love you, you choose the same type of man with the hope you can make him give you the love your father didn't give you? Yeah. So yeah, that's a theory, and it's actually a theory that I use. So basically, the way that I like to talk about it is, I say it's your blueprint. And so whatever your parents' best and worst characteristics are or were, are the characteristics that you're going to be looking for in your mate. So if your dad was punishing and happy, you're going to look for a man who's punishing and happy. And if your mom was funny and absent, the man that you date will also be funny and absent. So we tend to attract all of all of that which was the most influential of our parents, good and bad. So, but, and you can learn how to take care of yourself. And you can learn, because everything is vibration, everything is energy. And so you can actually learn how to love yourself and take care of yourself instead of taking care of everyone else all the time. And then when you learn how to do that, you'll end up picking a man who doesn't need to be as cared for, or doesn't get so offended when you don't care for him. Or you'll still pick the man who really wants to be cared for, but you'll be like, hey, listen, it's not my job to take care of you. And then he'll either stick around or he won't. You know, hopefully he'll learn how to take care of himself. So anyway, that's a little side conversation there. So, okay, so this is where boundaries come in. When we learn our own value and our own worthiness, we can start to create boundaries because we aren't afraid of who we're going to insult with our truth. Does it make sense? So when I learn my own anger, so to speak, when I learn what makes me upset, or I learn what makes me feel good, and then I start asserting myself and saying, hey, this is what makes me feel good, this is what I need in my world. And you don't have to necessarily say it to other people. It's just an ownership, and that's where the self-worth and the self-love comes in. And when you have that, that's actually what creates boundaries. Now, when we're first learning this, in my coaching program, there's ways, there's tools that I'll teach you, so that you can learn step by step how to actually communicate your needs and your boundaries. And then you actually eventually you'll get to the point where you don't even, of course you're communicating, but it's your way of being that really communicates what you need. So if I need space, I take space. And if my partner doesn't understand it, then I can communicate it. But it's not like, hey, I need some space, can I please have some? That's still operating out of trying to make somebody else happy. Does that make any sense? So, hey, so fun when you guys join me. It's so good to see you. Okay, so this is kind of my basic description of boundaries. This isn't typical psychology, but this is what I came up with. It's like, so it's to know yourself well enough and to trust yourself enough to know whether or not what someone else is doing is affecting you in a negative or a positive way. Does that make sense? So it's like, I know myself so well that no matter what's happening outside of me, I have this internal guidance system that I'm very attuned to that says, oh yeah, I like that. Or says, oh no, I don't like that. And it's like, it's like that trusting your gut or trusting your intuition. Okay, so in my coaching program, I actually teach people how to get in touch with that sense of self, that sense of worthiness, that sense of like, oh, this doesn't feel good to me right now, and actually to trust it, which is really important, right? So I think in traditional psychology, when we talk about boundaries, it's really about saying like, no, I'm going to say no to this, or even sometimes it's like, oh, I'm going to say yes to the things that I do want. And actually, if you want a training on that, I have one on my website, HeatherHundhausen.com. It's a free boundaries training. If you want some more help with boundaries, you can go to my website. You can put your little email address in, and that goes right to your email. No spamming. But I found over the years of working with coaching clients and bodywork clients that people, sometimes they don't even know themselves well enough to know what their yes or their no is, right? Oh, whoever that was is okay. So it's like when you lose your identity and you don't have that sense of worthiness or that sense of self-love, you can actually get to the point where people will say, do you like the color blue? And you say, I don't know, right? At that point, you've become such a chameleon, you've completely lost yourself. It's all about pleasing everybody else and not pleasing yourself at all. And that's a huge part of what I work on with people in my coaching program. Because I want you to know who you are. I want you to know what feels good for you. I want you to know what your truth is and to be able to express and live your truth in the world. It's an important thing to be able to tap into and do. It's not just all about taking care of everybody else all the time. I mean, we take care of people, but we don't always take care of everyone else and never take care of us. Hi, I'm so glad you're here with me. So this is where worthiness comes in, right? Can you see? So it's like, how can you have a boundary? How can you say, yes, I want this, or no, I don't want that, if you don't even have a sense of self and a sense of worthiness? So when you feel worthy for being stood up for, you start standing up for yourself. It's not something someone else does. When you feel worthy, you start to express yourself and you get to know yourself more, right? So until that point, we're just people pleasing others and we're losing our identity in the process. And so, you know, the important thing is here to tap into your true self, and included in tapping into your true self is tapping into your anger. Although people who like to be on the down low and like to take care of others don't want to even talk about anger, because anger is it's a very powerful, productive, empowering energy. And a lot of people in our culture associate it with bad and wrong, which I think, personally, I think it's too bad that we do that, because your anger is like a pressure cooker. So I got a little metaphor here. I love this metaphor. I heard this in a personal development class once. Can you imagine if the lid of the pressure cooker while it was cooking never released? Can you imagine what it would feel like to be the pressure cooker? You know, it's like all that pressure and nobody's going to release it for you. At some point, the tension brewing in that pot is going to have to release. And that's what it feels like in the bodies of people who are being taken advantage of, or being used, or being manipulated. But here is the truth bomb. Those people are actually allowing other people to take advantage of them by not tapping into their own power and their own self-worth. Okay, so generally these people express their anger in a very passive aggressive way. And it's like, I heard this also at a personal development course, it's like a sideways fart, right? If you hold a fart in too long, eventually it's going to come out, and probably when you least expect it. And then you look around like as if you didn't do it, like, who did that fart? Right? Well, you know it's you. But this is what denial is like, okay? So people who are in denial don't even want to believe that they're angry, just like they don't want to let the fart out, but eventually it comes out, right? So unconsciously, these are unconsciously angry people. They think that they're wonderful, sweet, fantastic people. They think they never get angry. You know, these are the people that when you see them, or you talk about them, you're like, oh, she's nice. Like, personally, I don't ever want to be known as nice, because I think nice sounds like a pressure cooker. It sounds like someone who's holding something back and about to explode. You know, I don't know about you, but I prefer people who know who they are, because I want to know who I'm dealing with. You know what I'm talking about? So a person with self-worth and boundaries doesn't let anybody else use them or manipulate them, because they're such a nice, profound sense of self that you wouldn't let someone do that to you. So this is a hard concept for most of my clients to really grasp the first time we talk about it. They say things like, you mean they aren't taking advantage of me? I'm letting them take advantage of me? How dare you say that to me, Heather? I'm not letting people take advantage of me. People just take advantage of me. Okay, so when a client gets to this point, they're starting to come out of denial. When they start to realize, oh my gosh, I actually have something to do with it. My sort of victim mentality has other people attacking me and using me and taking advantage of me. So it's a challenging place to be, but it's a place of power, and it's a place of releasing that victim mentality. So as long as I think that I'm gonna get more by acting like I can't do things for myself, life is gonna do me. Do you know what I mean? I'm not doing life. Life is doing me, and that's a victim stance. So we want to get ourselves into the feeling of I do life. I know who I am. My sense of power, my sense of worthiness is firm and strong. I know what I like. I know what I don't like, and I'm going to go out into the world and I'm going to claim it. And that's what having boundaries and worthiness is all about. So, do you feel like life is doing you? Like you're not doing life, Life is doing, things are happening to you. Do you want to do life instead of life doing you? Can you see how boundaries come from a sense of self-worth? Have I made that clear? Is everybody understanding what I'm talking about? And that when you know your worth, you're willing to not only ask for what you want and what you need in the world and get it, but you also know what you want. Like we said before, like some people don't even know what they want. So that's what I help my coaching clients with. You know, first we look at the body pain and the beliefs, like I said, and then we start working on the body pain, the beliefs, the self-love, self-care. And when you start getting all of that in order, then we start looking at anger, boundaries, and standing up for ourselves in a very empowered way. It's incredibly powerful. And that's why I call them buckets, because you want all of your buckets full. You know, you don't want just the worthiness bucket full and the self-love bucket is empty, or the self-care bucket is empty, or the belief bucket is full of beliefs that don't work, and you feel, you know, it's a balance of all of it. So if it's sounding like something you'd like to do, you'd like to go through this, you'd like to fill those buckets, you want to get those beliefs in the place that you want to release your body pain, you want to love yourself, feel that sense of self-love, you want to take care of yourself instead of taking care of everyone else all the time. It's a balance. You know, we take care of other people also, but we learn how to take care of ourselves. And you want to know how to have boundaries in the world so life isn't doing you, you're doing life. Sign up for a breakthrough session with me. It's right on my website. It's heatherhundhausen.com. I'm pretty sure it's linked to all of this. And, you know, you can do that for yourself. Now, if you feel like you already have your empowerment in place and you feel like you're pretty powerful in the world, you feel like you have really strong self-care and self-love, and your belief system is awesome and you're rocking it and all of your results across your life are amazing, that's amazing. And I'm excited for you. And there's people who don't have that. So go ahead and share this video with them. Go ahead and share the blog with them. And, you know, because my mission is to create a world where each person is connected to themselves, their own truth, connected to their divinity, their higher power, and connected to each other. That's the world I want to live in. Because when we get to that point, like I'm teaching in the buckets, you know, when we get these first 5 buckets filled, the body pain, the belief system, the self-love, the self-care, and the worthiness. When you get those 5 buckets filled, those are like the you buckets, then we can start moving out into the world with parenting, relationships, and work and purpose and all of that kind of stuff. And that's where we start really creating peace outside of ourselves. So this is where we're creating peace inside of ourselves, and this is where we're creating peace outside of ourselves. And I think we create peace in the world by starting with having peace inside of us and then having it, you know, go out into the world with others. So if you're aligned with this vision, please share this video, share this post, and I will be coming back at you next Monday with another bucket. And does anybody have any questions? So I think that's everything for today. Thank you guys for sharing time with me. Thank you for sharing the video, and thank you for joining me, and thank you for listening. And if there's anything that maybe seems too vulnerable to put in a post here, go ahead and private message me. I'm here to talk to. So, all right, y'all. I hope you have a fantastic week, and I'll be with you soon. Bye.